So welcome to Scrapbook Live. I am Megan Jax. Today is Wednesday, March 27th, and it's the last Wednesday of the month, which is really, oh my gosh, where did March go, right? But it's the last Wednesday of the month, and I do try to share borders when we do the last Wednesday of the month. And so this set of borders, I wanted to go back and take a look at, kind of not necessarily starting at the beginning with borders. These are kind of basic, but it's getting us familiar with chain style borders and just kind of, some basic things you can do with them. I do have the third border we put together. We will kind of go, we'll show you how you can use the borders outside of using the paper holder of the border maker system. So we're very familiar with our paper holder of our border maker system, but you don't have to use the paper holder. You can free punch using the cartridge, just putting your cartridge in the cartridge holder and using it as an individual free punch. And we're going to do that on the last border so you can see just one way that you can still create a border, but it just has a different look to it. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over here to my overhead camera really quick before we get going. If you need the handout and you're watching Facebook Live right now, in the description of the event or the video, there should be a link to my blog. If you are watching this later on YouTube, in the description below, there'll be a link to my blog, which has the handout. So you'll want to make sure that you grab the handout. While you're on the blog, if you have not already subscribed to my blog, you can go ahead and do so. That will give you an email when I update the blog on Tuesdays with those handouts. You'll get an email that lets you know that the blog has published, and you can just go there and grab what you need from there. So I'm going to go ahead now, switch over to my overhead camera, and we'll get going. All right, so we've got three different borders I'm going to show you today, and I do have the handout starting with border number 1. Now, I am using the new Welcome Baby collection with the Bears Chain Border Maker cartridge. So it's obviously a chain style, meaning that it punches completely away from the paper. You can see here, but this is when you punch a row, you're going to get a bunch of cute little bears. And that is a chain style border maker cartridge. As compared to, and we're going to just do a quick dive into the different styles of border maker cartridges, because I always get questions about those. I'm just going to demonstrate really fast the different ones. So there are 3 styles of border maker cartridges. The first style is that I'm going to show you is an edge style. This is a picket fence. We used picket fence a few weeks ago to do some different things, showing you ways you can use a picket fence. It comes with the border maker system. If you don't have that border maker system, you might want to get it. It's super awesome. But this is the one that comes standard, and it is an edge style border maker cartridge, meaning it's going to punch a decorative edge. It also has these little pieces that it punches out, but it's going to stay attached to our paper. So I'm going to just quickly show you a couple punches with that. So you can see here what it's doing is it's punching a decorative edge, but it's staying attached to my paper. So picket fence is an edge style. It's pretty basic. It comes with the border maker system. Now, another style of border maker cartridge is called a knockout style. And that means that it's not altering the edge of your paper, but it is knocking out a design. It's punching out a design, but it is not going to alter the edge of my paper, and it's going to stay attached. So let me show you that. This is called Ancient Key. Ancient Key, you can see here, has stayed attached to my paper, and it has not altered the edge. All right. So this is the edge style. This is the knockout style. Lastly, we have a chain style border maker cartridge, and I'm going to show you with bears. And here you can see with the bears, it starts to pull, it pulls away. It detaches itself. So it automatically becomes a chain. Now the other 2, we can make chains if we want to use our trimmer. We can come in and we can turn picket fence into a chain, or the knockout style, this Ancient Key, we could also turn it into a chain style if we wanted to, just by using our rotary trimmer and coming down the edge. You can see we've released them. I should have cut that one a little bit further so I had a little bit more underneath those slots. But here you can see we can turn the knockout style into a chain, which is basically a strip with a design. And then of course, you know, the Bears, it punches away on its own. So those are the 3 different styles of border maker cartridges. Okay, so everything I'm going to talk to you about today is mostly going to be done with the chain style. So it doesn't matter what kind of chain you have. If you might be working with some winter pictures and maybe you're going to use a snowflake circle chain, or you're going to be doing something using the new camera. We have like a Shutter Love, I can't remember the name of it, or brocade. That would also be a really, the brocade chain is really pretty as well. So depending on what you need to do today, you can use, we're going to be focusing on using the chain style. This becomes most noticeable when we're doing the 3rd border. The first 2 borders that we're going to do, you could always trim them into a strip. So if you want to use something like Ancient Key, Animal Tracks, Mosaic, Triangle, or Diamond Mosaic, whatever, you could use a knockout style and trim it down to make a strip. But the 3rd border, we are going to want to use a chain style border maker cartridge for that. Okay, so border number 3, you're definitely going to want to use a chain style. It just shows the technique is designed to use with a chain style. All right, so let's dive in to our project. The first border we're going to be making today, I mentioned I will be using the Bears chain. I am also for this border going to be using mirrored scallops. I love mirrored scallops. It's a great, useful one to have. Very versatile. So we're going to be using mirrored scallops and Bears chain. I show you here the different pieces that we're going to need. We are going to, and then the dimensions are all listed in the direction. So we'll just start off with step number 1. We're going to punch we're going to punch a Bears chain and a mirrored scallop out of navy cardstock. I really like navy with the Welcome Baby collection. I think with the teal and the yellow that the navy is just a really nice deep color. So that might be an option. Maybe leans a little bit more masculine. Working with a little baby boy, you can of course change things out if you you want something a little more feminine. But we're going to start off, we're going to punch Bears and then we'll punch mirrored scallop. Just a quick tip, when you're punching your borders here, I always keep a little bit of pressure on my my cartridge holder, keeping a little bit of pressure, pushing towards the left. That is to make sure that it stays nice and tight up against my paper holder. I'm going to swap it out here. I'm going to put in mirrored scallops. And what I'm talking about here is as I am getting ready to punch, I am putting some pressure here, just a little bit, just enough to make sure I'm nice and firm inside that slot. And then coming here with my, pressing with my, the heel of my hand and working my way down. So there we have two strips made with the navy cardstock, 2 borders. Now the second part of step number 1 is we are going to want to take mirrored scallops and we're going to want to go ahead and cut it in half. And we're going to cut it in half lengthwise. You could use your trimmer for that. And I'm going to tell you that if you need the pieces to be nice, straight, and even, you could definitely use your trimmer, use maybe a Post-it note to hold it in place while you're cutting it along the trimmer. It's obviously really difficult to cut this narrow with the trimmer without some sort of assistance, like a Post-it note in 2 or 3 places along the line here to keep it in place. Now, here's our border. One thing you're going to note is all I'm using is the outside little scallop edge. So I really don't care if the middle of my border is nice, clean, and even. I'm just going to use a pair of scissors. I do want you to note, if you do not have the mirrored scallop border maker cartridge, but you happen to have the scallop blade, you could just cut the outside edge of, you could use a scallop blade with navy cardstock and just make some thin strips that we would use on either side of our border. I just like I like using the border maker cartridge whenever I can. You make the investment, you want to use them, but I'm just going to use a pair of scissors coming down the line. The nice thing about this too is if you want more of those scallops to show, like if you want to show some of that space, you could make some adjustments and have more or less of the actual arch of that scallop showing. So we've got step 1 is done. Next, we're going to be cutting our yellow stripe. It says yellow strip, but it should say yellow stripe paper at 2 1/4. And then we're also going to cut the dark teal periwinkle color, which is, or the twinkle. Oh, here. We're going to cut these 2 pieces of paper. We're going to use a straight blade for those. The first piece is the yellow, and I'm going to cut it at 2 1/4 inch. 2 1/4. So there's my yellow stripe. And the dark teal twinkle paper, which is this one, we're going to cut it at 1 5/8. So 1 5/8, I'm going to come over here to the right edge, and 5/8, it's just past that 1 1/2, is past the 1/2 inch. So just past 1 1/2 inch at 1 5/8, we'll go ahead and trim. All right, so I've got those pieces cut. Now it says to use the rounded side of the scallop blade to cut the dotted stripe paper at 1 3/8. Okay, the dotted stripe paper is the other side of the dark teal twinkle paper. And we're going to use the scallop blade. Now, the thing about the scallop blade, it's the purple blade with the rotary trimmer. The scallop blade has 2 directions. You can either cut the rounded side of the scallop, which is what we're using here. You can see I cut the white paper. It has that rounded scallop edge. The other edge that is left behind is what would be called, well, I don't know which side is technically the scallop. Maybe the one I'm calling the rounded edge is the scallop, but you can see it's got more like a wave with peaks versus the rounded side. So we want to make sure when we're cutting our stripe paper that we're getting those curves. So I'm going to look at my blade. I don't know if you guys can see it. See how the blade, you can see, I want to make sure that those curves are to my outside edge. So they're facing to the right. So my blade, my design, or my label, this is scallop, is going to face to the left. When I do that, what's going to happen is my rounded edge is going to be on that outside edge. Now I'm going to go ahead and establish my scallop. And there you can see I've got the rounded edge there. Now, the thing is I want the rounded edge on the other side. If I was just to slide this paper over, my other edge is not going to be right. It's going to be the opposite. I want to have, outward curves. You can see on my paper here, I've got that rounded edge on either side of that white paper. So what I'm going to do is I am going to rotate my paper 180 degrees. So I rotate it. Now my scallops are over here. I'm going to line my paper up. I need this to be at 1 3/8 inch. I'm going to measure this time to the left side, and I'm going to go ahead and bring the peak of that rounded edge to 1 3/8. There we go. And I've cut. Now, sometimes I will admit I have to come up here and I'll fold it gently in half. I can tell I'm a smidge off. My paper may have moved just a little bit, but it's fine. Sometimes I have a little bit of a hard time. If you are not familiar with using your decorative blades, you might want to practice on some scratch paper just to make sure you are feeling very comfortable with how those cut and that your paper is going to stay where you want it to stay. All right, so I've got my piece here, and this is what I'm actually going to mount my Bears border on. And I went with the scallops because I liked, if you look at the bears across their heads, they've got that scallop look across the top of the heart, all around their heads and their ears. It's all very scallopy, has that same look as compared to going with something like using a decal or the Victorian or the stamping blade. You certainly could use those if you have them. It doesn't make that big of a deal. But I liked the fact that the scallop just went with it and that I could use mirrored scallops for the other part. So now we have all of the pieces ready to go. We can start assembling. I'm going to grab my silicone mat. So what we have to do here, the one thing we're going to need to do is we are going to have to, our navy mirrored scallop, we want to go ahead and attach it to our dark teal paper. So I'm going to use some repositional adhesive, and I am going to come along just on that edge. I want to leave the outside of my scallops, that scalloped edge, I want it to be nice, and I don't want any adhesive on it. So I'm just going to run some adhesive on the lower part. If you have the mini adhesive, it would also work. And I am coming in here and overlapping so that I just see the outside edge of the border. I do not want to see any of the opening that's underneath those scallops. If you happen to be using navy, remember the navy cardstock is just a smidge long. Just a smidge by about 1/16 of an inch or so. So what I do is when I'm working with it, I always try to pick one edge that everything is flush against that edge, and then anything of that overhangs, I can just trim off. These are pretty basic, just layered borders. We're starting off just with a little bit of almost like a warm up, I would say, for these borders. This is a pretty straightforward one, pretty basic, just some layering pieces. Next up, we're gonna go, everything just gets, put on here pretty straightforward. I'm gonna go ahead. I have a little bit, not quite as much of a gap here as I thought I would have. Maybe this piece, the piece probably, my mirrored, I say 1 3/8. It probably should be closer to 1 1/4. So I'm going to see if I can come in here and pull off some of this edge. It's just a little wider than I wanted. We'll see how this is going to work. Sometimes that second cut does not work out well in my favor. I think it's going to be okay. Just narrowing it down just a smidge so I can see a little bit more of that dark teal on the outside edges. I'm going to use regular adhesive for this part. And it just goes down the center. And then my bears are going to layer right on top of that. Now, the fun part about the bears, if you wanted to, you could come in and punch out another round of bears with different colors. You could come in, maybe I could have used the canary. I could punch it with canary, and I can fill in the little bellies with the canary. And I could come maybe with the dark sea green. I could come in and punch and have the hearts to go in there. Oh, Judith, I wondered if somebody would catch a ring. Now, I'm wearing my wedding ring today. This is not the ring I got married with, but I have it's a very long story, but when I was shooting newborn photography, I stopped wearing my rings, my regular. I had a solitaire. I was worried I was going to scratch babies, so I stopped wearing it. And then, of course, I gained weight as I got older, and I lost some weight. And I have a new set of bands that I got at our 13th anniversary. We got married on the 13th, so at our 13th wedding anniversary, I got some new bling that I just something a little bit different. I wanted something that didn't have had some bling in it, but didn't have anything sticking out. But then, of course, I gained weight back, and then I couldn't wear my rings, and I'm really kind of sensitive to how it feels. But I've lost some weight recently, and so I was able to wear it. I was super excited. 25th wedding anniversary was 2 weeks ago, so I figured I better get the rings out and start wearing them. So very fun there. So yes, Judy, I am wearing my ring. It's not new, but it newly fits, which is always a joy. All right, so that border, I trimmed off that extra edge where the navy was overhanging, and then we'll go ahead and just mount it to that yellow striped border. Just looks kind of fun back there. And here we go. That will take care of this border here, and you can add any additional elements you want. All set to go. Very just basic with the design. A lot of just 12-inch border elements that you can just layer and have a good time playing around with all your different punches, the border maker cartridges that you have. But that is a chain style. You could certainly do something similar with a chain style of our regular border punch. You're just going to have to make some adjustments to the sizes. What I would recommend doing when you're trying to adapt a border such as this into something that's larger. So if you're going to use the blue and white border punch, you would want to go ahead and punch your chain first, your decorative chain, and then you make all your other measurements based on that. So you would first do your decorative chain and maybe the cardstock, and then you pick whatever you're putting behind it. Go ahead and measure, see what size you need of that, create that one. Then you just keep working your way from top to bottom so that you know everything's going to fit. All right, so that is border number 1. All right, so borders number 2, again, we are going to be using the chain style. We're going to use the Bears again. And for this one, we're using 3 different colors of cardstock. I am sticking with the blue. I'm using the Welcome Baby blue papers, and then using the baby blue, and navy cardstocks because they complement. So when we have that nice range where we're going from the lighter blues, there's even some white in here in the designer paper we're using, but we've got the lighter baby blue coming into the mid-tones of the blue itself, and then pulling in that darker blue. One of the reasons I needed to use the navy in here is you will see I thought I could just use blue, and I actually cut a piece of paper to use with it, but you'll see when I did that, I have some pieces in here. One of the challenges I knew I was going to have to do is be able to get this segment to work. And when you put it on here, see, it just kind of fades in. You can't really see as much of there's not much contrast between the mid-tone blue of the background paper and the blue cardstock. So I went ahead and did navy because you can really see that mid-blue pop off the navy cardstock. So that's nice when we have that full range within the cardstock that you can stay tonal, but you can go from your light shades all the way to the darker shades. Okay. So we are going to need to punch 2 borders. Now I have a lot already pre-cut on this because to put my hand out together, I needed to remake it into pieces, and I don't necessarily want to recut all my paper. So I'm going to just show you what you need. Here we go. You're going to need 2 Bears chain, or 2 chains punched from cardstock. You could use designer paper too, but I like to use the cardstock. So I have my blue cardstock Bears chain. I also have a baby blue chain. Now I want to mount each one of these on a tonal paper, just a strip of tonal paper that is cut to 1 1/8 inch wide. So my dark blue, I'm going to mount to my lighter tonal blue. Let's see, where is it? Here it is. It's that, it's kind of that rainbow. It has that little rainbow pattern in it. I use that. And I've cut a strip that's 1 1/8. Now I want to make sure I can see between the two of them. So I'm not going to mount the lighter one on here. I mean, you obviously can't see. It's hard to see on screen. There is a little bit of difference here. This would be a very subtle pattern effect, but I wanted a little more pop. So I'm going to use the mid-tone blue on the light designer paper. And then I cut a 1 1/8 inch strip of this cloud paper. The back side is the blue gingham. And that is where my baby blue bears are going to stand on. So you can see we have some nice contrast between the tonal backgrounds and our cardstock choice. All right, so those are we're all the way, after you've cut those and punched those, you're ready to go to step 3. And that is going to be, we're going to adhere those cardstock borders to the strips of paper. So let me just set some of my stuff aside and we'll do that. And I am just centering these on. Just kind of eyeballing that center. Same thing for the mid-tone bears. All right. So both of my strips of my bear chains have been mounted on that strip of paper. And then what I'm going to do is cut each one of these segments each one of these strips into 2-inch segments. So I'll grab my trimmer. I need to make sure I switch. We go back to my straight blade, and I'll cut these into 2-inch segments. When I cut these into 2-inch segments, I should be cutting down the middle of the heart. That should be 2 inches. This border, you will have enough pieces to make 2 borders. And this border is pretty thin. This is a great accent border. So it's not it's not big. It's narrow, so it makes a really nice. Just if you're just wanting a little bit of decorative detail in there, maybe you got a lot of photos that you want to be able to include. Your borders aren't going to take up a lot of space, but you should have six pieces. If you do need to use more space on your layout, if you don't have as many photos, you could of course put the borders at the top and the bottom on a single page. And one last piece, and then I will have all 6. I have a total of 12 pieces, 6 of each, all set to go. Now, okay, step number 5. This is where I talked about using mentioned a contrasting cardstock, and that's where I'm going to be using the navy. And the reason you want contrasting is when you put your pieces on, you want to make sure that both pieces will pop off of that background. If I were, like I showed you before, if I used blue cardstock, these lighter bears on that mid-tone blue just kind of blend in. We're not going to be able to see as much of the detail, so I went ahead and did it with navy. They are cut to 1 3/8, and they are cut with the wave blade. So I use the wave. Let me go ahead. I can cut another one of these. I have lots of navy cardstock. So the wave blade, here it is. It's the green one. The wave blade doesn't matter which side we use. It cuts the same regardless of the direction you put the blade in. I have a tendency always to put my logo facing towards the left. That's just my habit. So the first cut, you want to establish your edge. And then I'm going to push this over. I need to cut it 1 3/8. So not quite 1 1/2, 1 3/8. And then what I will do is I will just start off putting my pieces on. And you're just going to alternate which piece you use. So I'm going to start off with the mid-tone blue. Then I grab a light blue. Now here you could, I use Bears for both of mine so that I'm going to have the continuous design all the way down here. If you wanted to, you could alternate. Maybe I could have come in here and I could use heart, heart, heart. Well, that's a border punch. I could have used I could use jammies maybe as had little, the little like onesie in here and alternate other ones. So that's something to think about. You could play around with that concept. You don't necessarily have to use the same design, but it does make a nice effect when you use the same design because it just continues those bears all the way down the line. I have a little bit of overhang here, my cardstock. This must have been the end piece. I'm just going to cut that off so that it doesn't, so it's flush. And one last, this is another one that has a little bit of overhang. I'll just trim that off. I should have a little bit hanging over of the navy hanging off the end there because the navy paper is, the navy cardstock's a little bit long. I'll just use my scissors and trim that off and just make everything nice and flush. All right, so I could stop here. This is a perfectly acceptable border, right? It's cute. It's got the bears and the multiple colors, all the things on here. Wonderful. Now, I sometimes don't like to stop there. I like to use more of the designer paper that we've got. And I really, really liked this fun stripe on here. And the opposite side to that is the rainbows. So the other side here, I have trimmed this piece to 1 5/8. You need 2 of them. Remember, we have all these pieces left over to be able to make another border. You should have 3 left of each to make another border. This piece just gets mounted on there and we'll start to see that stripe effect on the back side. This border, I've done this with the blues. You could do this with the purples. You could use the Welcome Baby purple, and you would use the eggplant and the iced violet or iced purple, whatever, the 2 colors. We have, there's 2 purples. Eggplant and purple ice, that's it. That you could use here 2-toned. You could come in and depending on how the purples in the Welcome Baby purple pack are, you might be able to find another purple in there that would come in to serve as that 3rd part. Oh, Janet's asking if I can show both sides of the Welcome Baby blue paper pack when I'm done. I will see. I think I will be able to. I think I'll be able to. So then Jackie's asking, what paper is behind the medium blue bears? So the medium blue bears, I used, the rainbow paper is behind the blue cardstock bears. That's my light paper. And then I use the cloud paper is what the baby blue bears are mounted on. And then the opposite side of the cloud paper is the stripe paper. So these are the 3 designs that are used as part of this paper. We've got the rainbows, the clouds, and then the stripe, which is the opposite side of the rainbow paper. All right, so that is the 3 papers that we're using from this. It's 2 different papers, but we use both sides of the rainbow paper. Vicki said, if you're having an issue with the comments, I don't know why Facebook wouldn't be showing you the comments. You might need to zip out and then come back into the live. It'll bring you back to just the current spot. So hopefully that maybe will get you situated with the technical challenges of Facebook not behaving itself. All right, so that is the border, the blue bears. All right. Like I said, that border will make 2. So you would just make sure all those extra pieces, the navy, the wavy edge navy piece, you'll cut a second one, and then you'll cut a second strip with that of the rainbow paper that has the stripe on the back side. You'll cut a second piece of that, and then you'll be able to use your other pieces here and have 2. All right. Okay. I did see somebody commented on the swatch. If you guys have not put a swatch ring together, I will tell you it is the best thing ever, especially if you have a lot of cardstock. So Creative Memories, has a pretty good range right now. We have like 22 colors in our standard cardstock, and then we do have an expanding array of the shimmer papers. There's actually going to be more shimmer papers coming out in April. They are the same colors that have been available in the past. I don't think there's any new colors, but we will hopefully be able to get some of those colors that we've had in the past. We'll be able to get them again. So I'll talk a little bit more about that at the very end of today. But yes, the swatch ring is the best thing ever. All right, so now we're ready to move on to the last one. The last border, we are going to be not using the paper holder this time. Instead of using the paper holder, we're just going to hold our punch in our hands. We're going to mark the paper, we're going to hold it and punch just by hand without using the paper holder. So we are going to start off. Let me see here. I've got to grab my sample to show you what we're working on. All right. So I kind of put this together as an actual page. And I have my little cutouts of my yellow. I didn't actually adhere those into space, so my little yellow hearts are falling off because I wasn't sure I wanted the yellow in there. Maybe I wanted something different. But what we're going to do is we're going to start off with a piece. If you want to make a 2-page layout, I have the directions on how to do that using the paper. We're going to do some paper welding on the back side, but we're going to start off with a piece of, I'm going to use navy cardstock. And this is the one where you definitely need to use a Chain Style Border Maker cartridge. The reason is we want to be able to see it release at the top and the bottom. See how we have, we can see the behind all the way, the outline of our bears. All right. If this had not been a chain style, it wouldn't have anything here at the bottom. If we had just an edge style, it would just have the design here at the top, which could be okay. But I wanted to have a design at the bottom. All right. Or I want to see something at the bottom there. All right. So I have a piece of navy cardstock that is already cut to 6 inches. It's the other half of the one I used to make my sample. It's cut here. Now, one of the things I want to point out, and what I'm actually going to do, I didn't mention it in my directions, but what you can actually do here is we could use the wave blade or a decorative blade across the edge of our paper. So I'm going to use the wave blade across the edge of my paper. This is my 6-inch paper. If you wanted, you're doing this, you could use your wave blade to cut your paper in half at 6 inches, and both edges will have it. I already have my wave blade in here, and I am just going to establish that cut. I don't want to cut very much of my paper off. I've got a wave edge. And my camera may not focus on that. Let's see if I put my hand there, will it? Oh, there it goes, wave edge. Now what we're going to do is you're going to need your cutting mat. And you want to make sure when you have your cutting mat on here, you want to be able to read creative memories. That is orienting everything the way I have it. So when I give you measurements, it will be where you need it to be. Okay, so you're also going to need a pencil. And we are going to work from the back side of our cardstock or paper. Now, if you're using cardstock, you don't really have a back side. It's fine. If you're using designer paper, because you could use designer paper for this, you're going to want to make sure you're working on the back side. All right. So I'm going to line up my paper up here along my edge. All right. I want to make sure I am as straight as possible. And I have got some measurements on here that I want you to use your pencil. If you need to, if you're using a dark color and a cardstock or paper and you can't necessarily see your line with your pencil, you could come in with something like a metallic, this is a metallic jelly roll pen, journaling pen, but you could also use one of the metallic pens that we have, the Creative Memory has, and you're just going to use that. That'll help you see the line. Pencil generally works. I'm going to do my first mark at 6 inches. All right, 6 inches right in the middle. You're just going to put a line. Now I'm going to come over here to my my left side, and I'm going to come at 10 3/4 inches. Now remember, 0 is over here. Here's 0. I'm going to come over here to 10 3/4 inch. 10 3/4. Then we're going to come at 8 3/8. Each one of these marks on your cutting mat are 1/8 of an inch. I'm going to find 8 and I'm going to come over to the left 3 lines. That's 8 3/8. I've already got 6 inches marked. Coming back over here, I'm going to go to 3 5/8. So here's 3. And I'm going to count 5 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's just to the line, just to the left of 3 1/2. And then my last one is going to be at 1 1/4. You should see on here evenly spaced marks that are evenly spaced from the center. All right. Now, we want to make sure we have our Chain Style Border Maker cartridge in here. And you're going to want to, before you maybe put your, you want to make sure you know where the middle of your Border Maker cartridge is. All right. Now the middle is, Border Maker cartridges are all 2 inches wide. That's our cut pattern. So the middle is going to be at 1 inch. So depending on what Chain Style Border Maker cartridge you're using, it may be obvious. The middle is in the middle of the heart, the center heart for this one. If I were to go into something like, let me grab another one here. This is Wispy Chain. I might want to use my ruler, and I might want to take a Sharpie to the back side of this and figure out where that center spot is, because it's not as obvious. So I come in here and I would just use my ruler. You guys can't see, but I can see there. And I would take, maybe if I have a fine tip Sharpie, and here I do, a fine tip Sharpie, and I'm going to find out where that 1 inch middle is. And I'm going to mark. See, I put some marks in there. That's the center. All right. You could also come up and mark with a like a metallic Sharpie or something where you can see on here, maybe mark the plastic piece. The black doesn't show, but if you have a metallic, like a gold or a silver Sharpie, you might be able to mark the actual piece on there. But the goal is you just want to be able to find where the center is of your Border Maker cartridge. Like I said, Bears, it's right there in the middle of that heart, so it's easy to see. Okay, now we are going to be working from the back side. All right, so where you see your marks on here, you're going to slide your paper in. and you're going to slide it so that it goes all the way. You slide your paper all the way in. Okay, don't leave it. You don't want to see the top of your paper all. You want it to be all the way flush to the back. And then you're going to line it up so where you get that pencil line matches to the middle of your border maker. And I've got navy in here, and I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see, probably not, but it's lined up. The pencil line doesn't extend all the way down. It's not coming down through my heart, but I can see where it is, and I can tell I'm lined up in the middle of that. And then I'm going to go ahead, and this can be hard depending on your grip strength. This can get to be a little bit tough. I've got pretty good grip strength still, so I'm able to go ahead and squeeze. You maybe use 2 hands, and you're going to squeeze, flip it over, and give it a little shake. We want to make sure all those pieces pop out. This is also a time when you might want to just go ahead, that heart move to the side. And we've punched our first one. But look, see my waves at the top, they stayed. It didn't punch away, it stayed. Then you're going to go ahead, come down to the next pencil line, line it up in the middle. Same deal, line that pencil line up in the middle of your BMC, punch, and see what we're getting is that little gap between them. Just a little bit of a different technique, something a little bit different, almost like they're little windows. We'll do one more on this side, and I'll go the other side where I've got those pencil lines. So you do a total of 5 punches. Definitely make sure you get that paper clear, that edge clear at the top. You want that edge, you want your punch to come all the way down. So my edge of my paper is flush, clear at the back of that punch. There we go. So I've got 5 punches evenly spaced, 5 little windows of bears. Again, this would be a really cute one. You could come in and alternate. Like I could do bears, 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 and maybe come in with that jammy BMC for if you're doing the baby look, or maybe you come in with the zigzag or the just whatever else you wanted to include in there. Or if you're doing a different, that's for baby, you could do if you're doing like cabin in the woods, you could mix together tree line BMC with home sweet home BMC. If you're doing anything with the ocean, you could do kissing fish with something else. I mean, you can just have a lot of fun with that. So just different options you can do. I used all the same, but one way you could mix it up a little bit is to use different ones. Now let's put this page together. I do want to show you how the page comes together. You do not have to use this. You could cut off the bottom. You don't have to use this as a piece that you attach to a larger piece of paper. You could come across and just cut that out, whatever length you want. You could come in with the decorative trimmer and give yourself a little bit of wave underneath it, however you want to do it. I'm going to show you how I put together the page that I showed. We'll make the complementary page to this one. All right. So I used the goose paper, the white or the yellow goose paper. The other side of it it's like white with what always makes me think of like just tortilla chips on there. They're chopped up and tossed on there, but kind of like beigey triangular pieces. And I have the other half. I cut that at 6 inches. So I have 2 pieces. This piece, I'm actually going to use a little bit of repo adhesive on here. I learned my lesson on the one I assembled at first, and I'm going to put this on my cutting mat because I'm going to reassemble a 12 by 12 paper. So I've got a small amount of repo adhesive on the back, and I'm going to line this up. All right. Now, here's what we're looking for. This is step 4. Step 4, I have you cutting a 2-inch strip of paper that you want to be able to contrast. See, it needs a contrast, like so the bears pop off the page, right? So I used the lighter teal color that was in the Welcome Baby collection. I do see a quick question from Tammy asking where are the measurements. The measurements are on the handout. The handout can be found on my website. You'll see those measurements are all listed right across there. This is from the left edge of your paper coming across the middle to the right edge. All right. There's also a picture here that shows you how those measurements line up. I have to start with the larger number first, just because creative memories on the cutting mat 0 is over on the right edge. Okay. So what we have to, we're coming back here. We're now working our way to step number 4. I've got my 2-inch strip strip of paper, and I need to put that on my 6-inch background piece up here at the top, and we're going to overlap by 1/4 of an inch. I'm going to use a little bit of repo adhesive on the back side of this piece, and that way I'm actually going to, well, you could use regular adhesive. I'm going to put repo on here. I can come back and re-support it with some tape chips on the back side if I need to. I want it to line up at 6 or a 1/4 of an inch. It's an overlap by 1/4 of an inch. So I'm going to come here with my paper, line it up at the 6 1/4 on the left side, line it up at 6 1/4. This is 6 1/4 from the bottom up to the top. And put that on there. Now, this is the reason I adhered this piece up here at the top with some repo adhesive, is because when I'm adding this piece on here, this one isn't going anywhere. It's staying nice in place. So it gives me the ability to line this up without worrying about the white one moving around. There we go. Okay. Now, this piece, the Bears piece, when we add it in place, we're going to want to come down to the bottom and make sure we're not we're not coming down. We want to make it the full 12 by 12. So we're overlapping just enough so that we have a 12 by 12 paper. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to grab I need to put some adhesive on here. I'm going to use some repo adhesive along the top here where I've got the design. Just make sure that stays. And then I have plenty of space down here at the bottom that I could actually come in with some regular adhesive just below my Bears and put that in. If that one is a little high, I'll have to. I got a little crazy with my adhesive, so I'll grab and I'll just bend it back down. Okay, and then again, this is where I'm going to come down here at the bottom. I don't want this to be any more than 12 inches tall. Line that up, keeping it nice and straight across the bottom. I should see an even spacing. Oh, and you know, guys, I'm going to have to come in here with my pencil and erase it. I put adhesive on the wrong side. I can see my pencil marks, but that'll be easy to erase. Somewhere I have an eraser. I just have to be careful about it because that is a narrow piece of my cardstock, but it comes off, erases really well. All right, so there you can see how that comes in. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and pull this adhesive off the back of my. If you feel like you need to come in and put any tape chips or additional pieces for stability on the back side, you can. I think my repo is going to hold in place pretty well there. Now, on my sample, I actually ended up I layered on some of that, the yellow stripe paper. You could come in with some canary. For my sample, I like the canary brought into this. I do like the yellow in here. I think the yellow with the teal and the navy, of course, is a really lovely combination. And you can come in just with some mats. So I think I have, this is a 4 1/4 by 5 inch mat. So it's 4 1/4 tall by 5 1/4 inches wide. And then I have some additional mats that I think these are they're 3¼ by 4¼ so you could do 3x4s. It doesn't give you a lot of space for that navy to show through, but you can see how you could start to get some things in there by bringing in that yellow is really nice, and you have plenty of room at the top to start doing various things. So here, just putting together a very basic background. I will probably come in with that yellow. I just need to find, I think I have to open another pack of paper to get another round of yellow. And actually mine don't quite match because I did the scallop design. So here you can see the difference. You know, I came in, one has the scallop edge at the top and one I didn't. I just used a straight blade and then punched. So I do kind of like the scallop blade in there. That's super cute with that, with the bears. Just gives it, you know, a little bit more of a youthful, soft and sweet look for those baby pages. But depending on the borders that you're using, you might want to stick with the straight blade. You might want to use one of the other decorative blades as well. But you wanted to go ahead and do that before you make those punches. All right. So that wraps up the borders that we're doing for today, working with the Border Maker cartridge. So hopefully you've enjoyed that. They should work. Those designs should work with any of the Chain Style BMCs. You might want to play around with it a little bit to see how it works. But for the most part, those designs the measurements should all line up well, especially with that, the last one, that those spacings, that should work with any of the Border Maker cartridges. Even if you didn't necessarily want to use a chain one, if you just want to use an edge one, you're fine with it not having a bottom cut out of it per se, staying attached, but you just want to see that even, like you want to see trees in the windows, or like I said, you could have houses. Those don't necessarily have to, they're rooted in the ground, like things are sand castles, things that are stuck to the ground. It still is nice. The bears, it works really cute because you see the bottom of the bears. All right. So in terms of, I had mentioned before, we're talking about the swatch. Somebody asked, you know, comment about having the swatch, the swatches of colors for cardstocks. This is amazing. You start off with a 2x3 scraps of paper. I use we have had some different tag punches, the 3-in-1 tag punches. I punch the top of those, use that, but you could also just use a hole punch across the top. And you then just use a binder clip, a binder ring to swatch these all together. I just hand wrote on here what they were. And that way you can easily grab, before you start grabbing through all your cardstock and all the colors, you can just grab here. Now, the nice thing is Creative Memories is making this, they have a couple of new, well, we have been expanding our shimmer line. So we've had various shimmers over the past several years that have come out, but in April, I'm not sure if we're talking next week or if we're talking mid-April. I don't have the timing, but I know it's coming because it's actually, if you go under the Creative Memories website, you go to What's New, you'll see that they're going to have a shimmer sampler pack coming out soon. And it's got some bringbacks of colors we had before. So Lagoon Shimmer, I was super excited about Lagoon Shimmer. Aquamarine Shimmer. I think there's Wild Wisteria Shimmer. Those colors are going to be coming in, giving us more of a rounded rainbow of shimmer paper colors. And they're going to be available as a sampler pack. I'm not sure if they will also be available in 10 packs. Like if you're like me, like, oh, can I get like 10 more pieces of Lagoon Shimmer because it's just absolutely amazing. I want like 10 pieces of it. So I'm hoping we will see the individual packs plus the sampler packs. So that's going to be coming. And Monday is a new launch. So we are going to have the April products come out. And that information will be available on Friday. In terms of, so yeah, pay attention to Friday. We will know what's coming on Monday, that kind of stuff. I'm not sure if we'll start to see summer. I have to look back last year and see what we had released in early April last year, and could probably tell you at that point. I'm actually going to see if I can pull that up really quick. The other thing I do want to talk about, I will not be available next week for Scrapbook Live. I'm going to be in Phoenix at the time. I'm actually really excited because Tessa's going to come out and she's going to cat sit for me and enjoy some Seattle fun. They're going to go do some, she's got the twins with her, and they'll be coming out to do that. So that'll be really kind of fun for them. I'm hopefully they have a couple good days of weather, and then it's going to rain. Sorry, this is what it does here. We have umbrellas. I'll show them where all of the umbrellas and the rain gear are so they won't get too wet. But I did pull up the information. Last year, the beginning of April is when we saw the Setup Camp collection come through. The year before that, we saw Our Moments. Before that, it was the Homestead collection going clear back. And so April has kind of been, we don't know for sure what's coming. It'll be fun to see what they show us on Monday. We did have this week on Monday, there was the mini ABC stickers available. There is a promo going on now through Tuesday at 10 a.m. So there'll be a little overlap between April's new products launching and that promotion. But that promotion is while supplies last, and it's any of the ABC 123 stickers. So if you just need a couple of the minis, but you need some more of the black serif stickers or whatever it is, you can mix and match the ABCs. If you buy 8 packs of them, you'll get that the sticker file holder. So that is what's coming in terms of that. Let me see here. I need to get back to this other page so I can see what any questions that have come through. I'm zipping around on my different tabs of my internet browser here. All right. I think that is all I have. So I won't be available next week for Scrapbook Live, and I probably will not be available the week after either, because that's when I'm going to Mexico. So it might be a couple weeks before I see you again. And then I have to be honest with you. So I get back from Mexico on April 15th, sometime in the afternoon. I don't know, at some point, right? And then we are going to be getting ready to list our house to sale. And so like I come back on the 15th, and the house has to be completely ready by the 19th when they take the pictures for the listing. So if I don't have anything for you on April 17th, it's because I'm literally like stressed out, like gonna pull my hair out, getting ready to the house, all those final details. I do want to comment really, because I see you guys commenting that the black and the white sold out really fast. And the reason that they sold out so fast is because they were initially available as part of the Titletopia bundle that was from earlier this year. So that was, you had the black mini ABCs and the white mini ABCs, and the little circular wavy Titletopias. So they were available then. And so I think we started with a lower amount to begin with, and that's why they sold out so fast. I don't know if they're going to bring those back as a regular offering. Sometimes they put out the sticker buffets for us to kind of test the waters. The thing to note is they now have this die, like the metal die that is used to cut the stickers, has been established. It has been created. So I'm hoping that we will continue to see mini ABCs either back into our regular lineup or available at certain points so that we can replenish our supply. All right. You can always send in an email to Creative Memories at productsuggestion@creativememories.com, and they will hear all about it. But really the biggest sign for them of demand is when we order those products. So if you like the mini ABC, stock up on what's available, and hopefully they will bring back the black and the white for us as well. The navy and the hot fudge, I think, are going to be some great options in craft. I mean, that's like a light tannish brown. We haven't had, I'd love to see that as a cardstock, honestly, that medium, not quite beige, not quite hot fudge, something in the middle. All right, that's all I've got for you guys today. I'll have the video. If you came in late, I'll have this video posted here shortly onto the YouTube channel. If you do share, if you make some boards, I would love to see if you guys make these with other punches, other papers. That'd be so cool to see. There's a hashtag at the bottom. You can share it into into Scrapbooking with Meggan. That's my Facebook group. You can share those there, and I would love to see them. All right, everybody, have a safe and wonderful Easter with your family, or however you're celebrating. I am excited, Tammy. I'll get to see you in Mexico as well. All right, take care. I'll see you in a couple weeks. I might be a little sunburned. All right, see you soon.